Well, welcome back, guys, to Teacher Talks. I am your host, Dr. Christopher Holmes. I hope that you enjoyed part one of our series of the warning signs of failing schools. So, this is part two, and we are focusing on teacher leadership, another critical aspect of academic success and school improvement. So, I don't want to hold you guys up. Remember, I hope that you have your cup with you. What am I? I have my Sagittarius cup today. All right. So, for all my Sagittarius out there, shout out to you. Go ahead and get your cup, get your coffee, get your tea, get your cocktail, get your wine. If you want to take it straight up to the head, you can do that because it's your business. Remember, Teacher Talks is a judgment-free zone. We don't mind what you do. You're grown. Just do it responsibly. That's my note to you today. So let's go ahead and get started with part two of the warning signs of failing schools. So as a quick reminder, remember this conversation will or has stemmed from an article that was posted in teachthought.com by the author, Dr. Stein, who is also the author of a book who he has co-written with Jessica Stein as well as Alex Stein. And that book is entitled Educated Disrupted. So go check him out, check out the article. Again, check out the book. If you want this actual presentation, just feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, find my email, or go to my actual website, fullyengaged.com, fullyengaged.ed.com, and just send me a message. I will send this particular presentation out to you. So again, we are talking about part two of this actual article. I am adding in my own little pieces to a lot of this. But I am giving you everything that's in the article and my additional viewpoints as well. So last week we focused on administration, the leader in the building. So this week we want to talk about leadership continued, because I always say leadership, leadership, leadership. When we're talking about improvement, growth, achievement, it is always about leadership. So we're going to keep tackling leadership. We're going to talk about it from the teacher aspect. So we're talking about the warning signs primarily associated with teacher leadership as it relates to failing schools or those who are on their way to be a failing school. So number one, in these environments, teachers are not respected by their students. Classrooms are noisy, and I'm not talking about productive noise. This is out of control noise, and teachers have no control. So some of the environments that I check in with and support as a consultant deal with this issue. Now, let me first say this. Many times, this issue in the classroom is also prevalent in the building itself. So this is a transfer from what's happening in the building as a culture to what's going to happen or what we're seeing in the classroom. This oftentimes is not an isolated event. So this is just not one teacher that has an out of control classroom. Many of the classrooms in the environment, which goes back to the leader of the building, setting the stage and the tone for the behaviors and the expectations for how respect looks, that is then translated into the rooms of these teachers where they are not being respected by their students. Students are talking, they're noisy, they're loud, they're disruptive. When you look at the environment from the outside in, it is not conducive for learning. It will cause you concern. It will cause you anxiety. It may even cause you frustration, and it's not even your classroom. But seeing a classroom that is out of control means that the aspects of teaching and learning are not occurring at the highest level. The type of learning that is going to likely be produced in this type of setting is very minimal to none and also inconsistent. So when you see out of control classrooms, teachers who cannot gain the respect of the students, this is typically identifying a low performing environment or one that is on its way to be low performing. This goes back to supporting the school leader to set the stage, but also supporting teachers through professional development, through some modeling, through the use of effective evidence-based strategies that are proven to work in environments that look like this. Don't give me a strategy from an environment that looks nothing similar to what these teachers are dealing with. It is pointless, it has no relevancy, and it's ineffective. They need something that has worked with students that look, sound, feel, and behave like their students, so that we can transfer those skills into this environment and try to make a difference. Now, this cannot, or more than likely won't happen overnight. This is going to take some time. All right. Number two, in this type of environment where teacher leadership is a problem and it's associated with failing schools, these teachers have low academic expectations. Oftentimes, this is not true for everyone, and they oftentimes have low behavioral expectations of students. Now, let's deal with the behavior component first. Sometimes or oftentimes the behavior expectation is low because the classroom has been so out of control for so long, the teacher begins to feel defeated. So she's not, or he's not, expecting the students to behave any better. And so since the expectation is low, the way they encounter the students to behave differently is also really ineffective. Again, when you have behavior that is disruptive and not conducive for learning, if you don't have learning, then the academic outcomes are going to be minimal. So we're talking about classroom environments that are well managed. And that relates back to the teacher. But again, it also relates back to the school itself. Because again, if it's happening in the school, it's going to happen in the classroom. Unless you just have a very bold, strong, experienced teacher that can somehow allow their classroom to be devoid of what's happening in the building itself. And that takes a very strong person. And I've seen those type of environments. But do you know how taxing it is on a teacher to create a culture within a negative or a very destructive culture? That's super hard. It takes a lot of energy. And every day when this teacher goes home or he goes home, they are exhausted. So we need the support of the building level principal and all of their colleagues to really think about, what does this building look like in terms of behavior, and how can we create better behaved students so that we can then just focus on what we want to do, which is simply to teach. Number three, in low performing environments where schools are failing or are on their way to failing, the annual teacher turnover rate exceeds 25%. These teachers are doing this. They're throwing up the do sign. They can't take it. They can't handle it. It's overwhelming. And most importantly, they don't feel effective. And then sometimes they don't feel supported. So with all of those variables in place, you're going to be very hard pressed to get teachers to stay unless you're offering some great incentives or there's something else that is a benefit to the teacher to stay. So when you see a lot of turnover, just like when you see a lot of turnover in leadership, that's associated with low performance. Number four, so if they're not leaving, they're just simply not showing up to school. There is a high absenteeism rate of teachers in low performance schools. They're just coming as little as possible. Sometimes they're coming and they're just physically there. And sometimes they're not coming, even on days when they don't get paid because they're out of sick leave or personal leave. They're just saying it's not worth it. I'd rather take a cut in pay, and they're already not getting paid their fair share of wages as a professional educator. But they're willing to take the dock and pay because they just need a mental break. They need a mental day to restore themselves, to rejuvenate from all of the chaos in the room. And when let's be realistic. When we talk about noisy and out of control and disrespect, what does disrespect look like for a teacher? So this is just not like loud talking and maybe horseplay in the classroom. These are students who are willfully disobeying students. They're also calling the teachers specific names. I'm just going to be honest, right? So they're telling teachers, shut up, stop talking to me, leave me alone. They're calling them out of their names. So bitches, motherfuckers, they're saying fuck you. They're using all of this language. And excuse me if this is very strong language for you, but out of control simply means just that. This is an environment that's out of control. And this is not just happening in older settings. This is happening also in elementary, middle school. I've seen it. I've heard it. Yes, young children, 10-year-olds can use profanity. 8-year-olds can use profanity, right? There's oftentimes a lot of fighting or abuse, bullying, intimidation. All of this contributes to what you may imagine as an out of control environment. And we've got to tackle this issue. Number 5, teachers and staff exhibit low self-confidence. They just don't believe in themselves that they can do the work that it takes to turn this school around. They're burned out. They rarely arrive early to prepare. They're just showing up just in the nick of time. And when the bell rings, they're about 5 minutes away from the bell before they hit that parking lot and get in their cars and go home. They're not hanging around any longer than they have to. This environment doesn't feel good. Teachers aren't stepping up to the plate. They're walking away. They're walking away. So when you see this, again, this is the 5th warning sign associated with teacher leadership, where you see students failing or students are on their way to failing. And then, of course, that means the school is failing as well. Number 6, teachers are yelling at us. Sit down! Be quiet! Shut up! Stop talking! Constant yelling at students. And that is their attempt to maintain order, get discipline in place. That is their form of classroom management. Ineffective, doesn't work. All that causes kids to do is to retaliate against you. You start yelling, they start yelling. You start cursing, they start cussing. You walk out, they walk out. You shut down, they shut down. At what point did I talk about any type of teaching and learning? These are some very, very toxic environments, some toxic behaviors that do not lead to student success or achievement. All right? Stop the yelling. And if you see the yelling, address it. We've got to figure out a better way to interact with students to get them to do what we need them to do and what we expect them to do as it relates to behavior. Number 7, teachers make little or no effort to contact parents. This is one of the first things I tell teachers to do. If you have a group of students, even if it's just one, that is not complying with your expectations, and that seems to be, this is another cue, seems to be unfazed by consequences, you need to get on the phone. And number 1, your first line of defense is to call the parent. Let the parent know what's going on. Inform the parent. I have often been in meetings talking to students or talking with parents about their students, and the meeting is the first time the parent is hearing of these behaviors. Not one phone call has been made. Now, this also means parents, if they call you, answer the phone. If you missed a call, call back. Check your voicemail. Send an email. But we need you engaged because we need your support if it is your desire that your student survives and is successful in school. It's a partnership, people. Teachers, you've got to call. Parents, you've got to answer. Leaders, it needs to be an expectation that that communication takes place in your building. See how I brought the school leader back into play? Because their role is so important. Again, they set the stage, they set the tone for how school is run, how partnerships are built, how students and classrooms are managed. That is the school leadership, and that filters down to teacher leadership. Number 8, teachers are not interested in any type of training. I can come in all day long and provide PL, but if they're not there, if they've disconnected, they're not focused on any skills because the class is so out of order. I can learn a bunch of new skills, new strategies, but it's not going to work with these kids. I can't implement that strategy with these students. They're out of control. And so we do that often. We know that the culture and climate are not conducive for learning, but we continue to provide PL as if we're going to easily marry these new strategies into our classrooms and into our instruction. Not going to happen. There's no value there. The value right now, or the priority, is in management. Students that value education, students that want to learn from teachers. Until we can manage and get that part under control, then all of the strategies, all of the PL means nothing. And so paying consultants like me to come in is a waste of federal dollars, is a waste of your local dollars, and it's also a waste of your teacher's time because it is not what they need at the very moment. It is not an imminent priority. So we've got to focus on that. Number 9, teachers wear inappropriate attire. Now, I know we are in a very lax type of environment, a very lax time in education. People aren't coming to work in suits and ties and dresses and pant sets and dress sets and outfits and things like that. We don't live in this time, but there is still a level of respectable wear that professional educators should have on. You should not look like the student. You should carry an air of the teacher, setting or creating a presence in the room, right? They should see you before you open your mouth and understand exactly who you are. You're coming in the room with this level of respect for the practice of teaching. And then you begin to get the respect through implementing those practices and beliefs based on your pedagogical skills and experience, right? But the look, how you show up, is very, very important. Number 10, teachers do not have prepared lessons. Okay, they have not thought through, planned out their lessons. They don't even have a lesson plan. They're showing up ready to Google and find that worksheet for today. And the students are going to sit and do that worksheet for the entire class period. And hopefully there's no talking. Or since I know you're not going to do it, I'm just going to print it out, put it on your desk, and continue to do what you're doing. There's no established standard for preparing lessons or expectations for learning. If you don't plan for success and achievement and success will not happen. You have to strategically lay out your instruction, especially considering who the students are that you serve, because every student is not ready for every type of instruction. All right. Last, but definitely not least, the school staff changes academic programs based on the latest fads. Everything doesn't work for everybody. Stop implementing all of these new programs that you want your teachers to work with year after year after year. Remember, 3 to 5 years it takes to do something well. If you keep changing year after year, I'm learning something new every year. I cannot hone my craft and my skill. I cannot be effective with the program, with the process, because I'm still learning something else. Give it time to stick. Stop maneuvering in and out. And again, that goes back to the leaders, but that also causes teacher leadership to be ineffective because they then become unskilled because they're unknowledgeable. So those are the 11 signs or warning signs associated with teacher leadership in failing schools or schools that are on their way to becoming a failing school. This is part 2 of a 4-part session. I hope you enjoyed this session. This is some great information. I have seen and witnessed all of these things, and I know these to be true and more. So go ahead, like, share this video. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel right now. Next week, we'll be back with part 4 of the warning signs associated with failing schools. I can't wait to have you join me. Next week, we're talking about this again. We can never stop having enough conversations around this topic. Until then, like I always say, guys, be safe, be blessed, and I will see you next time. This is Dr. Christopher Holmes, Teacher Talks, and I am signing off. Goodbye. Do you believe in wearing fashions that spread positive messages? Well, Fully Engaged Education now offers merchandise that will do just that. And we are spreading the word that a high quality education is deserving of every student, everywhere, every day. Fully Engaged Education has now crafted beautifully designed hoodies, sweatshirts, long and short sleeve tees that come in a variety of colors that will be perfect for any season. So go check out Fully Engaged Education and select those beautiful pieces that will be sure to set off any outfit that you plan to wear. Fully Engaged Education is committed to providing information and access to ensure every student can be successful and every student has an opportunity to learn.